Coach, obviously, Florida coming in, great team. Give us a little scouting report on them.
Well, we know some of their players, but a lot of their players are new, and Sully's got some good freshmen that he's incorporated into the lineup. You can see that. I've seen a couple of their games on TV, but there's some familiar faces too, but they're Florida. And anytime you play a team like this, you know that these kids have played a lot of baseball, they play a good schedule, and there's always a lot of confidence with his teams.
Give us the background of the relationship between you and Kevin O'Sullivan.
Mm-hmm. Well, we coached for 6 years at Clemson, and I knew him when I knew of him when he was a player at Virginia, when I was a Presbyterian. But we got together really when he was an assistant coach at Virginia, and I was assistant in Virginia. At Clemson, and then he went off into professional baseball. And when we were looking for to replace our pitching coach, that's when we made contact with him. And I would tell you, it's probably of all the coaches that Jack Leggett has ever hired, I would probably tell you that's the best decision he's ever made, is hiring Kevin O'Sullivan. He's had a lot of good coaches there, but Sully was different. He's a very unique coach in the fact that he can do everything. I know he didn't pride himself, but he does a lot of the pitching at Florida, but at the same time, he's about as versatile a mind and coach as I've ever seen. He's a tremendous recruiter, too. So when Jeremy Foley hired him at Florida, he certainly changed the program there. It's always been good, but he's really taken it to another level in the years that he's been here. The amount of success that they've had is unbelievable. But I'm close with him. We compete against one another, but at the same time, we've known each other for such a long period of time. And Maggie and my girls are very close with him, and he's got such a great sense of humor, and that comes out in his personality so many times. But long beyond the times that we compete against one another, we'll always be close.
Did Mason's performance last night affect your rotation or bullpen use at all this weekend?
Well, it might affect the bullpen use, doesn't affect the rotation, because we knew that, coming into the week, it was going to be a short week, and for him to do what he did helped us. You certainly don't want to, play Tuesday and use a lot of your bullpen, knowing full well that you got to come back and play on Thursday. You got to take care of business. First things first. You got to win a ball game, but at the same time, you got to be prudent in how you use your pitching, knowing that you've got at least 27 innings within 48 hours. So he did a nice job of stabilizing that.
Talking about Florida's new faces, are Coar and Singer kind of guys you felt like you've been facing for years, longer than you have?
I think anytime you face someone who has that much success as a freshman, sophomore, and junior, you might be counting the days when they get out of the league. But those were, they did a good job for Sully. Those were two very, very consistent pitchers that brought that program a lot of success, had a lot to do with why they continued to show up in Omaha. The fact that you can lean on kids and know that you have a chance to win, a real good chance to win game one of a series, game two of a series, that puts you in a hell of a spot, moving forward. And those two kids really stabilized their rotation. But I would say that closer had as much to do with what they did too. That staff was a special staff for him.
Didn't get a chance to ask you this coming out of last week, but when JJ put that bunt down, was that called or on his own?
He did that on his own. We talked about that after the game. He just wanted to move some runners and get something going, and he did. As I told him, not to put the onus on him, but I just, I want him to swing the bat in that situation. Not to say he can't bunt down the road. There might be a time for it, but at that point, right, we were 4 down, and I really want to see him swing.
The whole
it's
whole
awesome.
Package, yeah.
We've been waiting for it since the season started. Just this nice weather, and for our fans to come out and really see when the Hawk is alive. It's gonna be fun.
think things will get a little rowdy with the beer sales out there and stuff? Or
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't complain. I think it's going to be a nice element to the stadium.
I talked to Harrison last night. He said, going to A&M, dropping 2 or 3, just kind of speaks to how brutal the SEC schedule can be. Do you kind of agree that you just got to keep grinding and stay with it no matter what happens?
Absolutely, yeah. It's definitely a daily thing. You play a day, you put it behind you, you look to the next day. There's nothing you can really dwell on. There's nothing you can try to change. It's definitely difficult. I mean, it's why we came here.
Last 2 starts for Drake, he hasn't really had his best stuff, his best velocity, but he's been able to fight through it. Why do you think he's been able to?
He's just a competitor. That's what we work on in the bullpen. And even when his stuff might not be 100%, it's still some of the best stuff in the SEC. And the way he competes, is second to none. So it's really fun to work with him.
Do you guys, I guess it's more Brownie than you, but do you guys change what you're calling when you kind of see what he has and doesn't have early on?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends. He's always been predominantly, he has the really good slider, and so yeah, that's usually working, and it doesn't really change. It's just he's got to attack the zone.
What impressed you about the way that Kumar came back after not being able to start just because of cancellations and everything the last 3 weeks, coming back into the rotation and pitching well?
Yeah, that was awesome. He's my road roommate in A&M, so we got to talk a lot about it and just kind of talk about the start and nerves and things like that. So it was really cool to see how composed he was on the mound, especially in A&M in that tough of an environment. So it was great to see him being young, just kind of stepping up.
That 0-2 double or single they got off of him, I think it was to left field. You guys got a curveball down low. Was that as low as you wanted it or no?
It was a great pitch.
Okay. That's what I
yeah,
thought.
the kid put a great swing on it. There's nothing you can really do about that. That's the hard part about pitching and being good is sometimes you give up stuff like that. And as a battery, you got to work through it and just say, so what, next pitch.